Absolutely, do not get me wrong, this is way too early for any sort of actual thoughtful, intelligent predictions. However, I don't care, you can laugh at me later. So I hope you guys do enjoy, and also comment down below your predictions, put in your top 5, put in your bottom 5, and if you feel really saucy, put in your FA Cup and EFL Cup winners too. In some ways, it is easier than ever to predict the Premier League table, but in other ways, it is the hardest. If we talk about the bottom 5 or top 5 clubs, there's a good chance that 4 of those 5 clubs will be all the same that we all put into it. So I'm not going to waste time. Like, comment, subscribe, and Mazzola Designs for the best football prints all made by myself to put up on your wall, like what I've done behind me. Let's go. So we started off with bottom 3. Now, the idea is we're going to get the same 3 teams in here for the majority of people. And that is not because people don't trust or believe in these teams because they hate them, but because it's just the probabilities. Yes, it's very likely that most people's bottom 3 would be probably Sunderland, Burnley, and then Leeds, or Sunderland, Leeds, Burnley, or whatever, right? So why are most people putting Sunderland last? Well, that is because they probably, in terms of on paper, are the worst of the 3 teams, in terms of not just by the quality of players, but also by how they performed last year. Don't forget, Sunderland lost 5 of their last 5 games last year, and I think won 2 of their last 11. Sunderland were really, really poor last year. Now, you may say, well, they weren't really fighting that hard because they wanted to save legs for the playoffs, and it worked out, so it was a genius move. But it could have also worked out really poorly if they actually end up flopping because they ran out of form and momentum going into it. They've got a relatively new owner. This will be a completely new field for him to go into, and to get it all correct and spot on straight away will be a marvelous achievement. A manager that has never managed in a level like this before, with many players at the club that would have never played at a level like this before. Only a very few players, and they may be able to bring in some, but I don't think they'll have too much money realistically to spend to compete at this level. Yes, they may spend, a good amount, which is especially like, 30, 40, 50 million. I just can't see a world where they're touching the hundreds. So this isn't not me hating Sunderland. I think it's just the probabilities that I think that we've got quite an inexperienced team, an inexperienced board, and a lot will need to change, and with a lot of luck if they're going to stay up. So for me, 20th, I think I'm 70-80% confident that it would be Sunderland. So then there's Leeds and Burnley, both teams with 100 points, which is a marvellous achievement. First time in history that 2 teams in any football league history has ever hit 100 points in the same season. And both teams have done it in relatively different ways. Leeds being, of course, on paper, the more attractive, entertaining team, a high-scoring team, and Burnley being the much more clinical, defensive, much more structured side, the more consistent side. Leeds, even though they're much more attractive on paper, they have got a tendency to be much more vulnerable. There is one similar theme with both these teams. They've both got managers that have got a lot to prove. Daniel Farke and Scott Parker both already entered the Premier League for what I believe is both of them the 3rd time, and for both his managers it hasn't worked out particularly well. Scott Parker under Fulham was really, really poor, going down, and didn't really score really any goals with what was on paper a very good team. And then Bournemouth, we all knew, within 3-4 games, that 9-0 loss away at Anfield, and went out the door with a barrel of fire, with him basically throwing his players under the bus, it felt like. Then there's Daniel Farke with his 2 tenures at Norwich City, both ending in what was predicted failures. Having a team that tried to play somewhat attractive football and try to be a bit more out there and try to go at teams, but just didn't have the players capable of doing so, and it ended up doing none of either, not being able to really be defensive at the back and be rock solid, and not having enough quality to really actually go for it. There is a very good chance that both Daniel Farke and Scott Parker may not be both in a job by December. There is more likely chance of that happening, I think, not happening. But the real question is, if it's not one of the 3 promoted teams, then who will actually go down? It's really hard to really say who would. The only teams you can look at maybe that can go down to that level is maybe Wolves, Brentford, and I'm struggling to really find the others here. In any other world, I would not say Brentford, but with Frank leaving, potentially Embremo and a few others as well that could also be leaving. They're really good at replacing players, of course, so they may be able to survive, but it could be a big ask for what is fundamentally a massive core part of their group. So you got to have a lot of faith in them if they are able to replace them wisely. And then, of course, there's maybe West Ham. West Ham are kind of in no man's land right now, kind of not doing much at all, but clearly still have a good amount of quality still there, and I don't think Potter's really even a bad manager, so I think they maybe just be okay. So the question is, do I want to be boring and just predict the bottom 3 just to be the same 3 teams to go up? And you know what? Because even though I'm a Burnley fan, you're predicting me to say that we're going to stay up, but I'm not. I'm not. Maybe because from a Burnley perspective, last year we were the best based on the defence, and our defence will not be as good as it was in the Premier League compared to the Championship. Keep in mind, Burnley did not concede 2 goals or more in a single game the entire season. Like, in the league, 1 goal was the most we ever conceded in a single game. That is incredible, right? But this isn't the this is not the Championship anymore, man. I feel like I would be stupid if I'm here saying that I think we'll stay up just out of pure ego and being naive, really. So I'm going to say Burnley will go down and hope that they prove me wrong, basically. That's my idea here. I'm going to hope that I could not jinx us by saying we'll stay up. Well, I don't want to be boring. I think they'll be 17th. That means who do I think will go down? I know whoever I put in here, I'm going to have people have a go at me. I know I will. The only team I think here that can actually go down is Wolves. I think Wolves is the only team I can see actually go down. And I'm going to put them to go down, in my opinion. I think Wolves are currently on a decline. They're going to be losing even more players, and it's up to them to see if they can be able to replace them. I think quite a lot is on edge at the club, and I think that it can very fast kind of, work its way down. I just don't want to be boring. And Leeds, with their ownership, their new American ownership, they have a lot of money to spend. Daniel Farke is concerned. I think he'd be sacked pretty fast, in my opinion. I still think they got some pretty good players there that could make a step up, but they do need help. Can they do in Nottingham Forest so they spend a lot of money on a ton of players and hopefully to spend so much that eventually it has to work out? I think that is what could happen here. They're going to throw everything at it. They're going to throw more than what Burnley could because we already spent so much money last time, and I think Leeds could just do enough. And I just think someone has to go down, and I think they're the more likely. Brentford is the most obvious because of what they're losing, but I think that team is so well run that I think they can withstand that. Let's carry on. I'm going to put Everton to go, I want to say 15th. The reason why is because people are expecting some massive boost because of the new stadium, but as history kind of tells us, a new stadium doesn't exactly guarantee success. We've seen it with West Ham United, that when they first went to the new stadium, it was really bad, and it's not a guarantee that they will particularly flop, but I think there'll be an expectation. It may take some time to adjust. David Moyes came in, did a fantastic job, and I guess not like a fireman role, but he kind of did do that, and they were really good. And of course the emotion of that last year at Goodison Park, I think, lifted them as well towards the end of the year, and they had a good feel to it. But I just think on paper Everton are still not that great, and I'm not really seeing many things in the market that suggest to me that they're really making any real steps forward on really improving their squad. So David Moyes will do a decent job. I think they'll be maybe 14th or 15th, but I don't think much can really change here, in my opinion, and that's just me. So then let's go for who I think will be in 14th place, and I'm going to go put Bournemouth here. Now I'm putting Bournemouth here because I think so much is happening at that club as well, similar to a Brentford, that I think they may have a little bit of a hangover there. They're going to be losing a lot of players. They're losing Kirkes, they may be losing Zabiani. They may also be losing Semenyo at some stage in this campaign as well. They've already lost Huijsen, of course, to Real Madrid. So there is a lot of movement happening at Bournemouth, but similar to Brentford, I think they are so well structured at their club in terms of bringing players in and out that I think they'll be able to cope with it pretty well. But I can't see them losing all these players and moving forward. I think there's a chance of them maybe, kind of going back a bit. Now, it could be maybe Everton 14th and Bournemouth 15th. I think that's possible as well. But I think on paper, Everton still don't have that great of a team unless they make some big transfers. Now, 13th place here, I'm going to go put Crystal Palace. Now, I could realistically put them lower, and I think I probably should. The reason why is because Crystal Palace have got potential Europa League. Now, right now, it's still not fully confirmed because of their entire multi-club issues they have, but John Textor, as of today, has sold, I think, 30 or 40% of his shares, or like a lot of his shares he sold, which can help them massively in actually entering the Europa League, because of course he's part of the reason why they may not be in due to his multi-club ownership of Lyon and also Crystal Palace. So it's looking more likely to me that Palace will be in Europe next year. Palace, very well known, last 2 years, starts off pretty poorly and ends off the year amazingly. This year, I think will be a struggle for them, and realistically they could even be lower. Like they could be in the 15th or 14th, because Palace do have quite a small squad on paper in terms of, like, they don't got too much depth there. Trying to combine the Premier League with Europa League football when you've already got like not an ultra top level, like Newcastle and Brighton. Brighton may be the best example here. They may not like it because they're rivals, but Brighton had a squad which was maybe a bit better in depth, but trying to compete in European football and also in Premier League, and they paid the price of that still. They are very much a formed team, and especially for the first half of the season, it could be a serious struggle for them competing in both Europe and also in Premier League. So I may actually move Bournemouth a little bit higher up and put Palace in kind of the 14th, 15th, because I just think they may struggle quite a lot. Now, I'm going to put West Ham here just to be a bit further ahead. This may be a big shock to some people because people expect West Ham to be really poor, but I really do like Potter, and I think they got some players there that can make a step up, and I think West Ham usually always do some decent bits of business in the window at some stage that can just help them push up a little bit more. Now, of course, by no means 12th place for West Ham is like an amazing season, but people are really expecting the worst here. And maybe I've got too much hope for West Ham here, but I think they have enough know-how that they can just kind of get results here or there that will, keep them ticking. West Ham, I'm going to put 12. This may be higher than people would expect. I do like Potter as a manager, and I think he can still get something out of them. Now, in 11th place, I'm going to go for maybe a shock here. I'm going to go for Nottingham Forest. Again, similar story to Palace, but Forest is, of course, a higher level ahead. They've got European football next year. They've got Conference League football, which is going to be a lower level to Europa League, of course, so they have a bit more leniency to rotate a little bit more. But Forest, end of last year, did fade off in the end. Of course, I think their legs did end up getting a bit more wary, which is normal. They had a very good campaign, and in the end, they did fade off a little bit. Now, again, with European football, their squad is still decent, but can it compete on both fronts? They will go all out for Conference League, and hey, if I say to any Forest fan that you can make it to a Conference League final, semi-final, and make it 10th in Premier League, would you say that's a decent campaign? Forest fans would probably take that. Or if I dare say you would win it, they wouldn't even care where they are in Premier League as long as they win it. Look at Spurs and how they did. Now, you may say, whoa. Where the hell is United, okay? Where the hell is Spurs? Like, they came 15th and 17th. Like, why are they, so high up? Well, the first team I'm going to have is here, and I'm going to go put Spurs in 9th. I want to put United here. United, I think, would be in a worse position, but here's the one thing with Spurs that United don't have. Spurs have European football, predominantly Champions League football. And I think that will pay the price as well. Thomas Frank is, for me, still a good manager. But Spurs, as a team, still is quite a young team with many players there, which I think still have some time to develop to really make it to the top level. And they've still got a lot more to prove on a consistent basis. They could be a very good team and top level on a game-by-game basis. Every now and then they could blow a team out the water, but consistently they've just not got it. Frank can probably do a lot there, but again, Champions League football with a team which still has got a lot of development to do, I think would be a big challenge for him. Okay, well, United, right? United, where the hell can they be? I'm gonna put Fulham. I like Fulham. I think Fulham, they're a quiet team that just does the things right. They've not got European football. I think they got a lot more in the tank there that they can keep going forward. And I think they will make it this year to strive on and get into European qualification. Well, last year it was Forest's turn to get in there. And then the year before was Brighton's turn to get in there. I think this year could be Fulham's turn to get in there. They're a very well-run club. They seem to just do things correctly with no European football, unlike other teams as well. They could take advantage of that. Where I could see Fulham this year, they just seem to be quietly doing some pretty good work. Man United, I still think there's so much to change in that club because there's so much that needs to change there. There's so much still going wrong in that club. Amorim still has so much to prove himself. I'm still not fully convinced by him. I want to. I still think he's a good person. I don't hate him, but there were times that I was kind of confused by what he was doing there. So they're bringing in Mateus Cunha. They may also bring in maybe Embremo at some stage as well. They may be a much more suited team to what Amorim wants. But there's still so many players there, predominantly defensively, that I still think is a liability. I really want to back United here, but I still think there's a long way to go. A long way to go. So up next, I'll put Brighton. I think Brighton can bounce back and get back into that European conversation. João Pedro could potentially be going. I'm hearing Newcastle may be the option for him. I think a second season under their coach's belt. I think that he's had a lot to learn from last campaign. I do like him quite a lot. So I just have this thing with Brighton. I think they are just really well run. And again, no European football. They can take advantage of that and they can crack back into that European conversation. So United, I think I put in 8th here, and Brighton I put in 7th here. And I may put in Newcastle. I put in Newcastle. Champions League football this campaign for Newcastle. There'll be a lot of focus on that. But of course, will they make it too far to the end? Maybe, maybe not. I hope they do. I hope they go far. But just like we saw last time, Champions League football is hard to balance. Now they have had they've already been there. They may have learned some lessons, and I think they will, and they'll do better to balance that than what they did last time. But injuries still will happen. Newcastle, I think, will make some steps forward. Can they keep Isaac? I think they may, from what I'm hearing, but that can all change very fast. Again, keep in mind, this is all still very early. Like, the real prediction will be in 2 months' time. This is just how I feel right now, and I think Newcastle 7th place will be a good result for them. 5th place, and I think then entering into the Champions League, I'm going to put Chelsea. I think Chelsea will make some steps forward based on just the squad being better, developed better, but I still think there's still some way to go in terms of consistency. And again, on their day, Chelsea could be an incredibly very good team, but consistency, I still think that'll be a problem. Of course, they still will have a European football as well, but they will be, for me, inconsistent and be quite frustrating. But I still think they will get into top 5, therefore being into Champions League football. Aston Villa, this is because I just purely love Unai Emery. I think they got a fantastic team. I think Emiliano Martinez may be leaving, but I back them on replacing him as well. Of course, going from Champions League now to Europa League football as well. Still a challenge, but I think that for Unai Emery, I back him a lot to make it. Under Unai Emery and Aston Villa in Europa League, Villa could potentially go all the way to win Europa League. That could maybe play a factor, them maybe dropping out of the top 5 by the end of the season. But I'm going to put them in 4th place just for now because I just love Unai Emery so much and I respect him with what he does. 3rd place here. Of course, we've got Arsenal, Liverpool, City. I'm putting Arsenal 3rd. I'm not seeing enough from them to make me think they're going to change too much. I'm seeing a lot of movement by Liverpool, a lot of movement by City. They're already making their decisions early, giving them a lot of time for pre-season to get into the rhythm. I'm not seeing that by Arsenal. I'm seeing them stagnating, and they need to make their decision very soon, and that's what Liverpool and City are not doing, and I think that counts a lot into the pre-season. Arsenal, I don't think will particularly decline, but I think they may stagnate and be caught up by other teams. That other team being City, and Liverpool, in my opinion, are getting even better than what they were last year by the players they're bringing in. So, Arsenal, I think 3rd place, I think is the most obvious shout for me. City will be a lot better this year. The amount of players they brought in, I think, is only inevitable. So, Arsenal 3rd place, unless they bring in a lot more players in the next 2 months, I can't see them being anywhere else other than 3rd place, maybe even 4th place, you never know. But I can't see them win the Premier League this year. I think they had to win it last year, and they didn't take advantage. And I'm scared to say that they may have lost their chance. And then, of course, there is Liverpool and City. Both teams here are improving a lot. Like, a lot. So it's hard to really judge who I think would do. I think Liverpool are going to be even better. And of course, City will be as well. But Liverpool are so far ahead in many ways last year that I think they may still have enough. Question is, will Salah be just as good yet again when he is getting 1 year older? I'm not too sure. He will have a lot more help though. Florian Wirtz being added in is very helpful. Frimpong and Kirkes, more kind of attacking threat as fullbacks, particularly more wing-backs actually, will be an even bigger threat. So I'm going to put City in 2nd and Liverpool in 1st place. I think Liverpool can do the double. I think they can go back to back. I think they're just getting better. And I don't think they're done with this window. City, a lot of players, Reinders and Shirky and Ait Nouri, and they already had a pretty good squad to begin with, right? They still have Haaland, they still, of course, De Bruyne's gone, that was only inevitable, but this is a new era, right? I think City, I think this may be another great title race between Liverpool and City. I think Arsenal will be a bit out of it, in my opinion. And I think Liverpool will go and win the league. So yeah, that's my extremely early predictions. Will this make any sense? Probably not. But I kind of felt like it was worth going into. And comment about your predictions down below as well. So yeah, hope you guys enjoy. And see you guys next time. See ya.